Namaste, blessings, and welcome to this online meditation summit. My name is Martin Combrinck, your host, and I invite you to sit back and to listen to all the wonderful speakers talking on the benefits and the art of meditation. Good day and welcome again to the Meditation Summit. It is my privilege and honor to have with me Dr. Yogacharya, Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani. Now, he is the chairman of the International Center for Yoga Education and Research, and also the deputy director of the Center for Yoga Therapy Education and Research in Pondicherry, India. He is well known and is the son and successor of the internationally acclaimed Dr. Swami Gitananda, Guruji Maharaj, and of course, Yogacharya Amaji. He is a gold medalist in medical studies with postgraduate diploma in family health and yoga, as well as advanced diploma in yoga in 1991 to 1993. An MD in alternative medicine, he is also the honorary international advisor to the International Association of Yoga Therapists, the Gitananda Yoga Association Worldwide, and is also on the board of directors of the Council for Yoga Accreditation International. Dr. Ananda has authored over 19 DVDs, 23 books on yoga, and published more than 100 papers, compilation and abstracts in yoga and yoga research in national and international journals. And of course, he travels internationally conducting classes, seminars in the US, UK, Switzerland, Germany, New Zealand, and even South Africa. Dr. Ananda, welcome. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste. It's so humbling to hear you introduce me, because all that I like to be introduced as is someone who's trying to be a good human being.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. We're so pleased to have you here. We just had a chat just now, and I said to you, we met you in South Africa, but it's time that you need to come back here soon.
Yeah, definitely someday.
We'll arrange something. Dr. Ananda, if we can start, tell us a little bit about yourself. I just want to tell the listeners, if they don't know, that you're all this, what I've said before, you're also a Carnatic singer, a songwriter, composer, and a percussionist. So tell us a little bit more about Dr. Ananda.
It is difficult to talk about myself, but I have been blessed in this lifetime to be born to wonderful parents, Swami Gitananda Giri and Ammaji Meenakshi Devi, who both have, along with being my parents, have been my gurus. And right from the time of conception, have enabled me to grow in an environment where the teachings of yoga have been natural, spontaneous, joyful, and shared with so many in a lovely, loving manner. They enabled me to have my training in the yoga in a classical ashram framework, where for us yoga is 24 hours. Every second of your life, every moment is yoga. They enabled me to have my training in music, dance, Sanskrit. Along with that, I went off into my schooling, and then my father wanted me to bring yoga and modern medicine together by becoming a doctor. And today, all I can say is I'm truly blessed that I have the blessings of my parents, who are my gurus, and the blessings of so many gurus of so many traditions worldwide who have shared their love and blessings with me.
Yes, isn't that wonderful to be brought up with parents like that? You are truly blessed, and obviously it's meant to be.
And I always believe when we realize our blessings, we are doubly blessed.
Absolutely. Now, of course, your father, Swamiji Gitananda, was also known as the Lion of Pondicherry, and also sometimes called the father of modern scientific yoga.
Actually, you see, my father was a very dynamic personality, and often I feel he had outgrown even personality into that universality. Yeah. But he was one who, followed the dictum of the great rishis, and his power of charisma, the power of his voice, and his whole personality was of such a power, Shakti, that came from the deep understanding of yoga and the connection to the universe. At the same time, he felt that we should not just take things on blind belief alone, and that one should understand these ancient teachings of yoga, which is an art, which is a science, and that those teachings must be understood in a modern scientific manner without putting yoga in a box. Many people research yoga, but they put yoga in a box. They take one technique or a couple of techniques. But his teachings were of the nature to understand the gigantic vision of yoga using modern scientific terminology, scientific concepts, and laws of physics, laws of chemistry, and of biology.
Right. Now, so you would say, in your tradition, obviously, in the way that you train people in yoga and meditation, is the traditional way, and you, in other words, are not in favor of the modern way that yoga is going. Well,
I don't like to be controversial, but yoga has always been something which is of an individual journey. And this individual journey is different for each one of us 7 billion people on this planet today. And we cannot have one size fits all. Even modern medicine has now come around to the concept of personalized medicine. And all our ancient healing systems have looked at each individual. What is their constitution? What type of dosha? Are they vata, pitta, kapha? What type of gunas? What type of mental activities? What type of physical activities they had? And accordingly, the guru would guide the individual on their individual path, which is a unique path. None of us human beings today on this planet share even the same iris or fingerprints. Each one of us is different. And so the journey for each individual is a personalized journey of that individual from where they are to going back home, sweet home.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And hence, this journey, if you want to guide people, it has to be individualized. It has to be in small groups. If I have 1,000 people in a class, how do I even guide them if I don't even know their name? And hence, we have always taken less than 10 people in our ashram at a time. And they stay with us for 6 months to 2 years. And from the morning 4:30 to night 9:30, they are kept busy with so many activities. But all of the activities are aimed to help the individual find out who they are, find out where they are going, and ultimately become that universality that we are destined to be.
So at the ashram, they are totally immersed in yoga. They breathe, eat, sleep yoga, and it becomes a way of life.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. That's the way it should be. And if yoga hasn't got any relevance in your life, then you're not practicing yoga, is it?
No, people come up and ask me, they say, how many hours of yoga do you do per day? I say the answer is 24 hours. Because yoga is part and parcel of everything I do. Every thought I have, every word I speak, every action I make, there should be the yogic consciousness flowing through it. And this is where for us this concept of yoga as a way of life, yoga as conscious evolution, where one is aware of the body, one becomes aware of the emotions, one becomes aware of the mind, and ultimately grows into an awareness of awareness itself. My father called this fourfold awareness. Of course, my mother added a fifth one when she said, before all of that, we need to first be aware of how unaware we are. That is where we have to start.
Very true, very true, very true. Now, today you want to share with the listeners and elaborate on the meditation in the Gita-Nanda tradition. In other words, the meditation which you've termed the inner yoga. So please feel free and just carry on talking.
Absolutely. Yeah. In the Gita-Nanda tradition, these teachings we take back to many thousands of years to the great rishis such as Bhrigu, such as Agastya, and in our south to the ancient Siddha called Kambli Swamigal. These teachings are very much connected to Maharishi Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga teachings. And hence for us, meditation, or rather dhyana, is part and parcel of Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga teachings. So we approach the concept of dhyana as a very deep state of awareness. For us, this meditative state is a state that one attains when one is ready for the state of dhyana, that meditative oneness. This state requires that one has tried to live and is living as much as possible a conscious and aware life, taking in the principles of the yama, the 5 yamas, ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, the niyamas that are making us and enabling us to become more human and humane. Saucha, Santosha, Tapaswadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana. Working with the body in the various asanas, understanding the energies of the body, balancing the equal and opposite energies, the ha and the ta, and then working into the pranayama. Because pranayama is the key when one wants to go inside. The rest of the practices enable us to do them externally, but then the preparation for going in is pranayama. Hence, Patanjali tells us that pranayama enables us to attain fitness for the higher states, the inner states. He says, Dharanasucha yogyata manasaha. For dharana and the others, we attain fitness. The mind attains fitness. Nowadays, people want to meditate, but the body is not controlled. The emotions are not controlled. The lifestyle is not controlled. Without a conscious and aware control over one's body, over one's lifestyle, over one's breath, how can the mind get controlled? And this is why for us, we work a lot on different pranayamas, such as the Pranava Pranayama, where we are utilizing the sounds of the divine Omkara, the Pranava, the sound of the Akara, the sound of the Ukara, and the sound of the Makara, and all three coming in the divine Omkara. This is used as a very important practice in our tradition, where consciously we breathe into the low lungs and then we breathe out with the sound of Ah. Then we breathe into the mid lungs, breathing out with the sound of Oo. Then we breathe into the upper lungs, breathing out with the sound of and combining the low, mid and upper breathing while we exhale with the sound Ah, Oo, This Pranava Pranayama, when performed in a slow manner, when performed with consciousness and awareness, produces a sense of contemplation that enables us to go in. The pranava, as Patanjali tells us, tasya vachakaha pranavaha. It is the closest human vibration, sound we can make that is closest in nature to the divine vibration of Ishvara, Purusha, the highest universality. And when the Pranava Pranayama is practiced with contemplative awareness, we can slip into that deeper state of contemplation, which becomes a Pranava Dharana, concentrating on the Pranava, and then when that is held long enough, it becomes a Pranava Dhyana, or a meditative state of awareness, where one is merging into that universality that the Pranava gives us. The Pranava becomes a window of opportunity. Now, this concept of pranayama as purifying us, reading the nadis, reading the different chakras. There are different pranayamas that can be applied for the Mooladhara, for the Swadhisthana, the Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, Ajna, and Sahasrara chakras. These techniques enable us to have a positive, healthy awareness of these energy centers, those vital centers that give us the life energy. And at that point, we start to work on the Pratyahara. Pratyahara, which is a withdrawal of the senses, is normally talked about a lot, but very few teach practices or techniques that can enable Pratyahara to manifest. One of the common techniques that people use and they don't even know what they are doing actually, a very beautiful technique, is to just sit in Padmasana, the lotus posture, and perform the Shenmue Key Mudra or the Yoni Mudra. Now, the Shenmue Key Mudra is done by placing the thumbs in the ears, closing the external auditory canal, having 2 fingers over the eyes, 1 set of fingers at the nose, and the little fingers over the lips. And this mudra is normally performed along with the Brahmari, the B sound breathing. Now, when one performs the Shenmue Key or Yoni Mudra, one is actually performing a type of Pratyahara of the Jnana Indriyas, the 5 sensory organs. The eyes, the ears, the nose, and the taste as well as the touch. All these sensations are being brought under control when one performs the Shenmue Key Mudra. That is why it is also called Yoni Mudra. Yoni signifying the peace, the calm, the quiet, the ease that we feel when we are in our mother's womb as a fetus. And when one sits in Padmasana, one is controlling the 5 karma indriyas, the action organs, the action senses, pada, pani, payu, etc. So when we sit in Padmasana and we perform the Shenmue Key Mudra or the Yoni Mudra and we perform Brahmari Pranayama, no wonder this becomes a very beautiful Pratyahara technique. A Pranayama becoming a Pratyahara technique, opening the doors to Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Those 3 aspects of Ashtanga Yoga, the Antaranga, the Samyama, that flow seamlessly one into the other. Another of the techniques that my father used to teach with regard to Pratyahara as a prelude to the meditative awareness is called the Shabda Kriya. Shabda meaning sound. And this is performed normally in a lying down position like Shavasana. And we teach a pranayama called Savitri Pranayama, where the ratio is 2-1-2-1. For example, if you breathe in for 6 counts, you hold for 3, you breathe out for 6 and hold out for 3. 6, 3, 6, 3, or 8, 4, 8, 4, 10, 5, 10, 5. And after a few rounds of the Savitri in Shavasana, we slowly start to take our awareness outward from where we are and try to focus on the sounds around us. The sound of the room, the sound outside the room, the sound in our village, the sound in the town, the sound in the country, the sound in the universe, letting our mind go as far out looking for sound, shabda, as possible. Then we slowly retrace our way back from out in and slowly come back in until we are focusing on the sound of our breath, focusing on the sound of the heart, and finally going deep into the deep inner silence. The Shabda Pratyahara Kriya is a very vital Kriya to prepare oneself for the inner practices. Another of the techniques that we use in Pratyahara is called the Prana Kriya. And this is done normally from a sitting position, again utilizing the Savitri Pranayama. And while one is performing the Savitri Pranayama after maybe around 9 rounds of the breathing, either 6-3 or 8-4 or 10-5, depending on the individual's capacity, we slowly focus the mind at the Bhru Madhya, the midpoint at the eyebrows. And at that point, as we breathe in, we let the mind go out. As we breathe in, it goes out. And as we breathe out, bringing that mind focus deep within the folds of the brain between the eyebrows. Breathing in, we slowly let the mind go out at the level of the forehead between the eyebrows. And as we breathe out, we come back, slowly settling ourselves back in that inner point, that point of ease, that point of silence within us. This is performed at the forehead level, that point between the eyebrows. That is related, when we go in a few inches, to that very beautiful Ajna Bindu. A Bindu is a focal point of consciousness situated in our Vijnanamaya Kosha. And we start to focus on this Bindu, and this Bindu, a couple of inches inside our head at the level of the forehead between the eyebrows, is physically related to the point where the hypothalamus of the nervous system, the brain, comes in contact with the pituitary gland of the endocrine system. And this is the seat of the HPA, hypothalamo-pituitary adrenal axis. And this is the point that is influenced by our limbic system that surrounds the hypothalamus. Now, this is very vital when we are working on the Prana Kriya and all these techniques, to become consciously aware of this Ajna Bindu, that point where the hypothalamus of the nervous system connects to the pituitary. Because modern life is filled with stress. Every place you go, small children have stress, adults have stress, men have stress, women have stress, everyone has it. And what happens is, the moment our emotions go haywire in the limbic system, the hypothalamus starts squirting all the releasing hormones affecting the pituitary, that then influences the adrenal, setting up our stress response. The catecholamines, the adrenaline, noradrenaline, or also called epinephrine, norepinephrine, they are squirted into our bloodstream, raising our blood pressure, raising our heart rate, increasing the blood sugar, tightening the muscles, and producing the stress reaction. Everybody is under stress, and this constant stress weakens the individual's immune system. It weakens the neuroendocrine connections. It exhausts the person, ending up with chronic fatigue. All the techniques of yoga, especially these inner techniques, contemplative techniques, all of them work against this stress pathway. And the exact opposite effects of stress start to manifest with the practice of yoga and the inner practices of dhyana or that meditative awareness. It has been found that there are improvements in cardiorespiratory efficiency, exercise tolerance, strength, steadiness, neuromusculoskeletal coordination. And one of the findings which is so important is a harmonious balance of autonomic function. This has been correlated with the enhancement of alpha rhythm in the EEG of the brain, coherence between the two hemispheres, so that your right brain knows what the left is doing and the left knows what the right is doing. This type of physiological benefits we have started to report in modern research in yoga, meditation, and basically all the mind-body techniques. The key is the modulation of the neuroendocrine axis, because the neuroendocrine axis is affected by our psyche. Hence it is called the psychoneuroendocrine or psychoneuroimmune. The endocrine on one part, the immunity on the other part. And this is why we find that the techniques of yoga, especially these contemplative techniques, starting from slow and steady yoga asanas, some of the practices that we do in the kriyas with the body movement synchronized with the breathing, the pranayama techniques, these pratyahara techniques, like the Shabda Kriya that I detailed, and this Prana Kriya, where we focus on the flow of energy out and in at the forehead as we breathe, creating a positive awareness in this psychoneuroimmune and psychoneuroendocrine modulation. These are what produce health. At the physical level, they produce health at the emotional level and at the mental level. In fact, recently, they even reported that these type of practices, the contemplative practices of meditation or dhyana, can enhance the telomeres on the chromosomes. Because these telomeres, these are the protective caps on the ends of chromosomes that get shorter. And as they get shorter and shorter and we age and age, well, life ends at some point. But what they find now is even 3 months of attending a meditation retreat, they found that these telomeres are getting built up. We can go against aging. It has even been reported in people who have HIV that the immune functions, the killer T cells, can be enhanced by some of these meditative practices. How does this happen? It happens when you develop conscious awareness, a positive awareness of this psychoneuroendocrine and psychoneuroimmune function. And all of these techniques normally tell us focus on the middle point of the forehead, the bhru madhya, that place where the Ajna chakra is there, the center of intuition is there, that center where the Ajna bindu, a focal point of consciousness, is there. What is that point? That is the key point where the nervous system the endocrine system and the immune system all come together. And this is why even if you look at the Bhagavad Gita, very simple teachings were given practically. Sitting straight with the spine, the neck and the head erect. Focus on the tip of the nose. It is called Nasagra Drishti, one of the Trataka points. Because Trataka, though it is a Shatkriya, it is also a very good prelude to these inner contemplative meditative practices. Focusing on the tip of the nose, the Nasagra Drishti, Trataka, and that midpoint between the eyebrows, Bhrumadhya Drishti, Trataka, and focusing on the breath. These are the key messages given in chapter 5 and 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. And when a person starts to contemplate this area, the Ajna Chakra, in a positive manner, automatically the neuroendocrine modulation is brought into a harmonious, balanced function. Yoga is samatvam. It is equanimity at the mind, and at the physiological level, it is homeostasis. And that is why other practices that we teach, along with these Pratyahara techniques, include the Dharana techniques, practices that enhance one's concentration from an all-pointed state to a one-pointed state. And Sarvagra, going in all directions, becoming Ekagra, becoming one-pointed, as Patanjali tells us in the Yoga Sutras. One of the techniques we use for that, a series of practices called Antara Dharana. These are techniques we do from the Dharmika Asana, which is the devotional posture, often also called child's posture in some of the traditions. The person sits in Vajrasana on the heels, bends forward until the head is touching the ground, with the nose in between the two knees. Now at this point, we are creating a very beautiful awareness at this point in the forehead called the Bindu Nadi, and we start to contemplate between the folds of the hemisphere. Here we take the mind in to the Bindu Nadi, and we start to visualize a horizon. Kshitijan Kriya. Kshiti means horizon, and Kshitijan is to visualize a horizon and that early morning sun. For us it is easy in Pondicherry because we go to the beach and we have a beautiful sunrise at least 300 days out of 365. And you go out onto the beach and you look at the horizon and you know what you need to visualize. When we have our head down, we have the nose between the knees, and we start to contemplate this point, visualizing a beautiful horizon. We start to open up a very introspective, contemplated awareness of this Bindu. And here we visualize the calm of the ocean, the horizon, and we start to visualize this beautiful sunrise. A very pleasant experience on the inner screen. It is of that velvety darkness, slowly becoming a beautiful orange, red, as the sun starts to rise. A very beautiful inner experience. Now from the same Dharmikasana with our head down on the floor, neck, the nose in between the knees, we can also perform something called Jota Dashana, which is a view of the inner light. Focusing on Bindu Nadi at the point where the head touches the floor in Dharmikasana, we start to focus our mind there until a beautiful light, an inner Jyoti, starts to appear. It's a pinhole of light, and then it slowly grows and slowly grows. And as we keep our mind focused on this light at this point, at the Bindu Nadi, taking it into that Ajna Bindu, that Ajna Chakra area, and just merging into the light, a Jyoti Darshana, a divine vision of the light that is there. It is important to hold this light gently in the inner gaze. If we try to concentrate too much at that point, it may go away. And this is where we try to learn to gaze passively without a desire to grasp, possess, or hold it. And this we continue for a couple of minutes and let that light grow, and then slowly it starts to fade away, and at that point the practice can be discontinued. Both of these techniques, the Kshitijan Kriya and the Jyoti Darshana, are part of the series of techniques in the Antara Dharana that enable the mind to go in. Patanjali says dharana or concentration is desha bandha chittasya dharana, meaning that concentration is the process of binding consciousness to a point, place, region, or object. Now at that point, we still have a duality. But that is where when we continue that flow, tatra pratyaya ekatanata dhyanam, there is a seamless flow. There is a steady, continuous flow between the subject and the object. And this point is that point of meditative awareness. The Pratyahara Kriyas, like the Shabda Kriya, the Prana Kriya, the Pranava Pranayama becoming a Pranava Dharana and a Pranava Dhyana, as well as so many of these other techniques. The most important part from our perspective is that they act as a road map. They act as a GPS. But the GPS can only take you so far. And this is where these are the scaffolding. This is the pathway. This is the road map. And as we go on this pathway of concentration, of dharana, we enter the state of dhyana. And this is why for us, meditation is something that one attains rather than one does. One can concentrate, but that state of meditation is the result of intense concentration. And it is that effortless moment. For me, my training in the music has also given me this. Because I have realized that state of oneness, a state of oneness that one gets in meditation, that state of oneness one can also get in music when you lose yourself and become one with the music. Psychologists in modern times call it flow, the experience of flow. But I would rather say, more than even flow, it is a state of dhyana, where you become the musician and the music become one. This is something which, for us, the Nada Yoga, the Pranava is a type of Nada Yoga technique. The Brahmari is also a type of Nada Yoga technique. And for the students here, they learn the music, they learn the bhajans, because all of these practices enable us to go from this sense of doing to a sense of being. Because in modern times, we humans have actually become human doings rather than human beings. And this is why it is so essential that these practices become part and parcel of our life.
That is wonderful. The techniques that you shared with the people, the listeners, I'm sure that they're going to try some of these and just to get going. But the main thing for me is just that, the listeners say, well, I don't have all day to practice, maybe 10, 15 minutes, and it is just to get on with it and just do it.
Yes. You see, when we come to the concepts of meditation and dhyana, one of the important things for me is that with practice, it all becomes natural, spontaneous, sahaj. And this is where, even when you are walking around, it could be a meditative experience. When you are working at your computer, it could also be a meditative experience. But these techniques enable us to sort of learn to turn on that experience. It is like a switch. And just as a switch is turned on, we learn to turn on what you could call a meditation response. Now, we all know there is something called a relaxation response, thanks to Professor Benson and his work. They talk about a relaxation response that you can trigger. I personally have found that there is a meditative response, a dhyana response that you can trigger. And for this, I have found that the most important is one's attitude. Because nothing can stress you unless you let it stress you. And the moment we start to take a positive attitude, an attitude of understanding towards life itself, every moment of life becomes a meditative moment. One of the techniques which I would like to share today is a technique called the chakra meditation in our tradition. Now, there are various chakra meditation techniques in different traditions. But here, this is a technique where we are going to be sitting in an erect position, keeping the whole body, the neck and the head erect, either in Padmasana, Vajrasana, Sukhasana, or in any sitting position where the body can be held in a stable, comfortable, erect manner. It is important that the spine is yogically erect so that the energy can move up and down in a smooth, effortless manner. We have the concentrative points, the dharana points here as the Mooladhara at the base of the spine, the Swadhisthana at the pelvic region, the Manipura at the navel, the Anahata at the heart center, the Vishuddha at the throat, the Ajna at the forehead, that point between the eyebrows that I've been talking about. And for Sahasrara and the other higher centers, the Anda chakras, we contemplate at a point a couple of inches above the top of the head. In this technique, the chakra dhyana, what we are going to be doing is using a breath control, the Sukkah Pranayama. Sukkah Pranayama is an technique of breathing where the equal inhalation is followed by equal exhalation. And sitting straight, with your body as erect as possible, slowly let your mind focus at the base of the spine. And as you breathe in for a count of 6, breathe in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let the energy come up the spine to the head. And as you breathe out, let it start to go down back to the bottom of the spine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The point at the base of the spine and the forehead, the Ajna, we are going to be going up and down with the inhalation and the exhalation. letting the mind travel through what seems like 6 floors and an elevator going up and down. The first floor is the Muladhara. The 6th floor is the Ajna at the forehead. Taking in a deep breath, and as you breathe, let your mind move through these 6 centers. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you come up through the chakras, starting from the base of the spine and through to beyond the top of the head, try to become aware of each of these centers. With practice, these centers start to become conscious centers, filling with light, sound, and color. After a few rounds of this breath coming up to the Ajna and going down to the Muladhara, take in a deep breath. And when the breath is completely filled in, take yourself into that Sahasrara chakra beyond the top of the head. Hold your breath in, a prana kumbhaka, a held in breath for as lengthy a period of time as possible. When ready to breathe out, slowly let the breath out and keep your concentration in the 1000-petal lotus center, the Sahasrara. At the top of the head, letting your mind settle in this point. Let the breath take on any form that it wishes, and simply hold the idea that you are sitting in the middle of a beautiful 1000-petaled pink lotus. Hold that idea as long as you can, repeating the visualization over and over until there occurs a pleasing sensation of being suspended. While you are in that, just let the sound of the Om run through you, that cosmic vibration. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Sarve janah sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you very much. That was beautiful.
It's been a pleasure to have this opportunity to interact with all of you.
Please just share with the listeners, Dr. Ananda, where they can get hold of you and your DVDs and your books and all that.
Well, first of all, for me, sharing is always without any without any business motives. At the same time, the DVDs and the books are all listed on our website, ASEI.com, and I am available for most people through my email, which is the ANANDA@ICYER.com. And also, of course, being in the modern generation, I spend a lot of time on Facebook, sharing with so many people all over the world. For me, the Facebook and the internet is a means to reach out and share. And of course, for me, sharing is a way of learning. And when we share without expectation, we learn, we grow. And that is the most important aspect of yoga for me, that as we grow, others grow with us, and we all grow together in that wonderful light of yoga.
Thank you very much for that. The only thing I still want to say is that let's move from human doings to human beings. That to me is so wonderful. And may you be blessed as you have been already with all the wonderful work that you've been doing and still continue doing. And everybody at the ashram and your family, we salute you, and we'll connect soon again.
Definitely. And all of you are most welcome to join us whenever the time comes, and maybe all have that blessing of yoga every moment of our life. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for joining us on the Meditation Summit and listening to one of our guest speakers. If you would like to own a copy of all the different meditation interviews, just go to our website www.meditation-summit.com. Namaste.